Hello, my crafty friends. It's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, and I'm excited to bring you 2 card samples today using contents from the new Create and Inkspire card kit. So what I have here is the watercolor paper that came in the card kit, and I am using the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer powder, which is in Sunray Crowset, and I have sprinkled that on, and I am going to wet this down quite a bit. And then I will add some more of the shimmer powder and add some more water. And I'm just not getting the movement that I really wanted out of it, so I am going to take a paintbrush and pounce it on there to kind of spread out the color. I could have stopped the first round. I forget with these powders that sometimes less is more, and you always get a really good shimmer with them. But I'm going to take my rag and kind of clean up the extra water that I have everywhere. So this watercolor paper tolerated that very well because I added a lot of water. So once I get the mess cleaned up, I am going to heat set that because I don't have the patience to just set it aside and let it dry. So there's all that shimmer. So now I'm going to take this panel and put it in my MISTI, and then I will arrange the flowers from the floral stamp set that came in the card kit. I will put 4 of the different stamps along the bottom just to fill up the bottom of this panel. I did warp this panel just a little bit with all of the water that I added and having to heat set it because of my lack of patience. So it does take me a few tries to get a good impression with the amalgam ink. But that's the reason why. Absolutely nothing wrong with the stamps. They stamp beautifully because I had used them in a prior project that I didn't end up filming, but they stamp beautifully. It's just I have warped this paper. So I finally figured out which way I want to have them arranged. So I am going to get them all inked up and stamped down. And then I take the sentiment from the sentiment set that came in there that says "Thankful for You." And I am going to take the Catherine Pooler inks that are new to me in Tutti Frutti, and I'm going to ink that up and get that stamped down. I will put this in my mini MISTI now because I was thinking I might make these, make some more. But I didn't end up doing it. I just did one. So I will get this in the mini MISTI, put the sentiment in, and stamp it down. And I left it in here. When I clean the stamp, I do stain it. So it is now a pink stamp, but it doesn't hurt the stamp at all. It stamps beautifully. None of that transfers. These ink pads are very juicy, so I had this red ink everywhere, and I thought, oh, there's no way that's going to stamp cleanly. I'm going to make a blob because I have way too much. But it actually stamped beautifully. So I'm using my Brutus Monroe Squeaky Clean, and I'm going to wipe that down with my very inky rag. But look, now it's pink, but it is perfectly fine. So then I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of this and adhere it to my card panel. I do find that laying it against the table and then putting it up to the card panel works best for me if it's the same size. I typically will cut my card panels down so that it's 1/4 of an inch smaller. But I didn't think of that when I did all of my stamping, and I didn't want to lose any of it. So I am going to now take some of the embellishments, which are from Trinity Stamps. They're these beautiful little gems. And I'm going to pour some out on my table and use my quick stick to pick them up and glue them down with art glitter glue. Now, I don't know what you use for a gem picking tool, but I would love your recommendation for what a good one is, because this one, I don't love it. I feel this gem here, I have to pry it off with my nail because it just wouldn't let it go. So I'm in the market for a new one. So any recommendations that you guys have, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it. Not too crazy expensive. I'm not looking for a crystal katana. I'm just looking for, run-of-the-mill jewel picker. So for my second card, I have taken the stencil, which came in the card kit. I have some pixie spray on the back of it, and I am going to take just some regular cardstock, and adhere that to the back of this stencil. I'm going to flip it over, and in the kit came some Nuvo masking fluid, so I'm going to shake it up, and I'm going to try something. I filmed this. I had no idea if it was going to work or not. My first tip for you would be, don't use this much. I didn't need this much. And then I'm going to take my stencil pal, and I am going to scrape this across to give me an even coat. What I should have done, once I had it through all of it, was pulled it off and cleaned it up. But what I tried to do was clean it up as I was going and made more of a mess, and then I had to scrape it down again to make sure that I had, as that first little leaf cluster, I had pulled some of the masking fluid off. So then I moved some and got it all cleaned out. In the end, when I peel it off, I did have some leaking underneath, but I am going to end up trimming this panel down and fixing it so you can't tell that I had any mistakes. So I'm going to gently peel this off, and I have to set that off to dry. Now that it's dry, it is still a little tacky, so I'm not sure if that's normally what it is, how it feels, because I've never used this before, or if it's because it's so hot here lately and the humidity is crazy. But now I am ink blending Lucky Clover Distress ink using a sponge, and I went gently at first over this because I wasn't sure if using the sponging tool to ink blend on it would be enough to pull up the masking fluid, but it stayed down, and I was able to get all of my ink blending smoothed out with a couple of coats of this Lucky Clover. So once I get this all ink blended to a color that I enjoy, I was trying to get that dark spot to smooth out, and then I decided just to give it up that it was just going to be what it was going to be. So I will get this all ink blended, and then I'm going to take the Lawn Fawn Liquid Stardust and leave the masking fluid on, and I'm going to splatter this all over. And then I will take my rag and just sop up some of it that was sitting on top of the masking fluid. So we're just going to give this a good splatter, and then you can see the shine. I love this stuff. It gives such a great shimmer to all of the things. I've used it so much I probably need a new bottle pretty soon. So we're going to clean all that up. And I'm just picking up some of the extra off of there, and then I will pick it up and you can get some of the, look at that, it's beautiful. So now I'm going to take the eraser and rub away the masking fluid. When I did that second clump of leaves, I did rip the paper a little bit, and that one is the one that has the worst bleeding from underneath. But we're going to get the stencil put back down after I get all of the masking fluid off, all of that removed. It's kind of like removing rubber cement or Elmer's glue after it's dried on your hands. I don't know about you, but as a kid I love doing that. But now I'm going to take Twisted Citron in Distress Inks, and I am going to ink blend this all over to fill in so it has a two-tone effect. And then when I pulled the mask away, I had some white borders around my leaves. I could have left it. I should have left it. But as you see, I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to put down some Lucky Clover on my glass media mat and take a paintbrush and try to fill that in. And then it gets a little splotchy. So in order to fix that, I will take that panel and then re-ink blend the whole thing with Lucky Clover without the stencil on, so over the leaves and everything. So I didn't show that on camera because I honestly, after I stamped the sentiment, I thought, I have ruined this. How am I going to fix it? So I'm taking the sentiment, my friend, and I am stamping this on the Nuvo paper, not Nuvo, tonic paper that came in the card kit. It is like a gold shimmery paper. And I am going to stamp this down a couple of times using my Gina K amalgam ink. But because this is kind of a shiny, slick surface, I decided that I was going to add some clear embossing powder to it and heat set that, because I know me and I would end up smearing this before it had a chance to dry. So I'm going to get that heat set until it's smooth and melted off camera, and I am going to take this and put it in my guillotine trimmer and trim it down to a more manageable size, and then I will do a side cut, a slanted cut, just to give it a little bit something extra. And then I have taken the panel And I have cut that down to 3 3/4. So most of the areas that didn't come out that well, that had some leaking underneath the stencil, have been cut away. And then I am adhering this to another square of the Nouveau Golden Shimmer paper, and I'm going to adhere that down to a card base, which is also paper from the card kit, which is the Nina Desert Storm. So the card itself is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. The shimmer cardstock is 4 square, and then 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 for my stenciled piece. I'm going to add some foam squares to the sentiment, and I'm going to put it over that blobby area to hide that there has been any leaking there. So unless you've watched this video, you wouldn't have a clue that I had messed that up. So definitely head on over to Create and Inkspire to check out the card kit, and I hope that you have a great day.